Okay, Saloma, will you just let me know? Can you see, does it say session 4 of 4 now on your side?
Yes, Ina, it does say that.
Okay,
Session
great.
4, and I can hear you clearly.
Okay, perfect. Okay, thanks everyone. I hope you all were able to just have a quick leg stretch just to be ready now for our last session today in our revision marathon to get you ready for semester test 2. And in this last section now, we're going to focus on our credit journals. Remember, we did cover the general journal in a separate section because that is such an important journal. So if you want a revision on the general journal, remember it's got its very own recording. So now we're going to look at our credit journals. Again, it is important for you to know what goes into each journal. Because as we said a little bit earlier, we are going to give you the transactions in kind of date order, and then you have to be able to sift through them and allocate them to each journal. So let's begin now with our creditors journal. So our creditors journal is then where we're going to record all credit purchases. Okay, so anything that the business buys on credit goes into this journal. And if you again want to look in your textbook, you can look at pages 141 to 142 for a description of what goes into the creditors journal. We again have a details column, and here we're looking specifically for the name of the creditor. So here you're going to write down the name of the business that we are buying from on credit. In the second details, the one right here at the end of your creditors journal, here is again where you're going to write down your general ledger account name. So that is when we buy on credit and it's not trading inventory. Because remember, this journal is for all credit purchases. So it's credit purchases of inventory and anything else that we buy on credit. Your creditors control column is going to be your one where you're going to have your amounts including VAT. Your trading inventory and your sundry amounts are always going to be excluding VAT. And then your input VAT column is your 15% VAT. And remember again, if you look at input and output VAT columns, don't forget Learning Unit 3. You must still think zero rated, exempt, non-allowable. You still have to think how to do the VAT calculations. So please don't look at your input and output VAT columns without remembering everything and all the theory that we showed you in Learning Unit 3. This column here is called the trading inventory column, but that will only be the case if the business uses perpetual inventory. If they use a periodic inventory, we're going to change the column name to purchases. But again, if you've maybe joined us late, remember there is a separate recording just dealing with Learning Unit 6 and the two inventory systems. So here in this journal, we record when we buy something on credit, but we could potentially return or send back to the supplier something that we have bought on credit and that we're not entirely happy with. And when we return these items to the supplier, we're going to record that in the creditor's allowances journal. And the columns work exactly like they did for your creditors journal. And you can also look at pages 141 and 142 of the textbook. The trading inventory column will again change if we use periodic inventory, and then it's actually going to change to purchase returns. So here is now a creditor's journal that I have now already completed. And the creditor's journal is then for all credit purchases, which can be inventory. So here on this first transaction, you can see I bought inventory, but it is also anything else that was bought on credit. So in my second example, we bought equipment on credit, And so that is sitting under the sundry column. So again, during the month, we record all the transactions into the journals. And then at the end of the month, we want to post this journal to the general ledger. And we again going to strive to create one double entry out of this entire journal. And the double entry is going to look like this. We're going to credit the creditor's control account. We are going to debit trading inventory, input VAT, and the sundry accounts. And in this example, it will be equipment. So in the general ledger, it's going to look like this. We're crediting creditor's control. We're debiting input VAT, inventory, or purchases, depending on the inventory system. And again, for these first three amounts, when I post them, I'm going to post the actual total of the journal. For all these sundry accounts, here I am going to post the individual transaction. This is a double entry, so the total credits must equal the total debits. If you want to practice creditors' journals and creditors' allowances journal, go to example 5.1. Question 5.8 has got a creditors' journal and a creditors' allowances journal. And of course, don't forget at the back of your textbook is then all the solutions to the textbook questions. Now, I also want us just to look specifically at the creditor's control account in the general ledger. Previously, we looked specifically at the bank account, and now I want us to look at the creditor's control account. So the first thing we're going to remember is a creditor's control account is a current liability, and therefore I am going to use CLIC. If I say I'm using CLIC, it means anything that increases the creditor's control account must be on the credit side, and anything that decreases the amount that we owe our creditors will go on the debit side. Once again, I'm going to use my steps for the preparation of a general ledger account. So first thing in goes the opening balance. And because we're dealing with a creditor, the opening balance must be on the credit side. Then in terms of step two says post your journal totals to the general ledger. So now I'm going to go to my journals for the month, and in particular, it will be your creditors journal, creditors allowances journal, cash book payments. The general journal will also come in here, but in my example, I've taken our three key journals for creditors. I'm going to go through these journals and I'm going to look for all the columns with the words creditors control at the top, because those are the amounts that needs to be posted to the creditors control account. So if I look at it like this, I can actually ignore any other amounts that was written in these three journals. For our creditors control account, I'm only interested in columns with the heading creditors control. And remember again, your creditors journal. So this will be credit purchases, and these will increase the amount owing to the creditor. So with other words, we're going to post it to the credit side of the creditor's control, and everything else then to the debit side. Your next one, your creditors allowances journal. This was for either returns or rebates from suppliers. This is going to decrease the amount owing to the creditor. So with other words, I need to post that to the debit side of the creditor's control account. And the last one, your cash book payments. So here is payments made to suppliers or creditors. And again, it's going to decrease what we owe the creditor. So I'm going to have to post it to the debit side of the creditor's control account. So let's go back to our general ledger then. So here you can see is my creditors journal, creditors allowances journal, cash book payments. Just take note again of the details. So for the creditors journal, the details reads sundry purchases, because remember it is inventory and anything else bought on credit. On this side, it reads sundry returns, because again, it can be inventory or other items returned to suppliers. Then the next thing, oh yes, so this is what I just want to remind you. So details is your general ledger account name for the contra entry. So where's the other side of this entry? And the other side, we describe it here as sundry returns, but it will be the inventory and all the other items that was returned. Folio, so remember earlier there was a student that asked if we had to do folios in the general journal. And we said not for the general journal, but definitely in the general ledger. So in the general ledger, we are always looking for folios. And what do I mean by folio? I mean the journal where the transaction was recorded. So you can see creditors allowances journal, cash book payments, creditors journal. So folio means journal. And then in terms of amounts, we're going to post the total from the journal with the exception of the general journal. Any postings that's done from the general journal, we will post the individual entry. Okay, I think it needs a bit of a recap. I've now said quite a few things here, so let's recap quickly. So for your creditors control account, step 1, opening balance in, always on the credit side. Step 2, we're posting from the journals. We post journal totals from creditors journal, creditors allowances, and cash book payments. These totals then will be posted to your creditors control account. Creditors journal increases the amount. Creditors allowances journal, cash book payments decreases the amount owing to creditors. When I say details, I'm looking for contra, the general ledger account where the contra entry will be. So where's the other side of the entry? In the folio column, we want to see your journal. So in which journal did I find this entry? And the amounts will always be a total unless you are posting from a general journal. And then lastly, we balance the account as I showed you earlier with the bank account. And for a creditor's control account, the balance must always be on the credit side. The balance brought down must always be on the credit side, because remember, a creditor is a liability, and a liability has always got a credit balance. I'm going to just jump through this slide, Salama. I'll give you another chance at the end just to have a chat with the students. Let's now look at our debtors journal. So a debtors journal is for credit sales, but only of inventory. Okay, so it's credit sales only of inventory. So here under details, we're looking for names of debtors. So the name of the debtor. Your debtors control account column will include VAT. Sales will exclude VAT. Output VAT is your 15%. And if it is the perpetual inventory system, there'll be a cost of sales column that will exclude VAT and exclude any profit. If the question requires the debtors allowances journal, then we're going to change this heading here to read sales returns. In the debtors journal, then, this is what a typical debtors journal will look like. So remember, your debtors control column is the one including the VAT. Your sales column is where we put the amount excluding VAT. And your output VAT column is your 15% VAT. The cost of sales column for perpetual inventory will be excluding VAT. So with other words, you'll start with your sales number and excluding the markup or the gross margin. The only one that I want to just draw your attention to is this entry number 2. In entry number 2, we made credit sales of 90,000 rands and we provided a trade discount of 10%. When we either have a sale or a purchase and there is a trade discount, we always record the price at the amount minus that trade discount. So you can see in my debtors control account, debtors control column, I'm not using the 90,000. I'm using the 90,000 minus the 10% discount. So in the debtors control column, I'm recording the amount net of the discount. But when it comes time to calculate the cost of sale, when I have to work out the cost of sale, I revert back to the original credit sale price. Can you see? So to work out the cost of sale, I go back to the 90% because we're using a 25% markup before any discounts. And by discounts here, I mean trade discounts. So in your debtors control column or your creditors control column, we're always going to record the sale or the purchase after the trade discount. But when we work out the cost of sale, we go back to the price before the discount. Okay, the double entry, we are going to debit the debtors control account and we're crediting output VAT and sales. So that will be your double entry. If you want to practice debtors control, debtors allowances journal and debtors journal, there's again, this example 5.1 is such an excellent example. I would highly recommend that you all work through example 5.1 because this example shows you all the journals, all the general ledger accounts, including and up to a trial balance. So that is really an excellent example to work through if you want to see if you can do everything, all the journals, cash, credit, if you can post them to the general ledger, and if you can do a trial balance. Then if you want to specifically do only debtors journal and debtors allowances journal, do question 6.7. And at the back of your textbook, there's also revision question number 14. Let's now look at our debtors control account. So a debtors control is a current asset. So we're going to use DED when we prepare a debtors control account. So step number 1, we're going to make sure our opening balance is in place and the opening balance must be on the debit side. Then we're going to do step number 2. We're going to post from the journals. And again, we're looking for journal totals. And the 3 most key journals is your debtors journal, debtors allowances journal, cash book receipts. We're going to go through these journals and we're going to identify all the transactions that specifically applies to the debtors control account. So once again, we can ignore any of these other amounts because for now, we are just interested in preparing a debtors control account. So a debtors journal is then specifically for the credit sale of inventory, and it will increase the amount owing by a debtor if we use debt. So this one we are going to post to the debit side of the debtors control account. Your debtors allowances journal, this is now for sales returns or rebates given to debtors. It's going to decrease the amount owing by your debtor. So we are going to credit the debtors control account with 5165. And then in cash book receipts, this will be payments made by debtors. And once again, it's going to decrease the amount owing by the debtor. And so we are going to credit that in the debtors control account. So let's look what it's going to look like in the debtors control account. So debtors journal on the debit side, cash book receipts, debtors allowances journal on the credit side. Details, again, is the contra account. So the opposite entry sits in sales and output VAT. In folio, I'm looking for the journal. So in which journal did I find this entry? And then for my amount, it's going to be a total unless I'm posting from the general journal. So the general journal is the only journal where we allow to post the individual transactions. Finally, I'm going to balance my account. And because I'm dealing with a debtor, the balance brought down must always be on the debit side, because a debtor is an asset and an asset must have a debit balance. Then in learning units 4 and 5, we also deal with the trial balance. So your trial balance is a list of balances or totals on all accounts in the general ledger. So once you've posted your journals to the general ledger, and you have now completed all your general ledger accounts and you've balanced all your accounts, then you take those totals to the trial balance. And the trial balance will then determine that there was a debit for every credit. If you want to go through questions and examples with trial balances, look at example 4.3 and question 4.85 is also a trial balance. The last thing that comes up in Learning Unit 5 is your General Ledger Reconciliation Statement. And this general ledger reconciliation statement comes in when we have the scenario where your total debits are not equal to your total credits of your trial balance. Then, as the bookkeeper or the accountant, we need to go and investigate and find the reasons for the balances not being the same. And then we have to make all the adjustments. So in your textbook, there's one example and one question that you can practice on preparing a general ledger reconciliation statement. Essentially, it looks like this. So the question will start you off with an incorrect trial balance. How do I know the trial balance is incorrect? I can see my total debit is not equal to my total credit. Then in the question, they will supply you with 5 or 6 reasons why these two numbers are not the same. And then you need to make the corrections required by each of those transactions. And again, here you need to use your dead click to determine whether this will result in an increase or a decrease for that specific account. Then the last thing you're going to do is to prepare your correct trial balance. And to do that, you start with your incorrect trial balance. And then you're going to either add or subtract the correction, depending on the correction. and that will give you your correct trial balance. And then to show that it is now all correct, we will see that the total debits are now in fact equal to the total credits. So let's recap. You're going to start with the incorrect balance. Then you're either going to add or subtract the correction, and that will be based on using your dead click. And then that will be how you will calculate this final balance over here in the correct trial balance. But the key thing, as both Salama and I have now said a few times today, is remember to use your dead click. And as Salama always says, make sure you actually even write it on your test paper so that you don't forget to use it in an assessment. Salama, I don't know how your microphone is at the moment. Is there anything that you're able to add, or are you just going to stick to the chats?
Hi, Ina. I'm not sure if the students I did actually note quite a few things in chat. I'm hoping that they have read what I've posted there. Are you able to hear me?
I can. You do break up now and again a little bit, but for the moment I can hear you. And maybe just students, if you weren't able to hear, Salama said she's been posting a lot of tips and more information for you in the chats. So please make sure that you are continuously also just reading Salama's tips in the chats. Anything else you want to share, Salama?
Not for now, it's again important of the data rules, as you mentioned, and of course, if they just understand what is a debtor for a business and what is a creditor, and most importantly, with the reconciliation now, is also just understanding the impact of when we are correcting these errors, right? To always show their pluses and minuses in the corrections column, because that's how I actually showed my students. This is where you will show the impact of plus and minus using the dead click rules. And then, of course, it will also make it easier for them now when they're calculating the new balance on the trial balance to know that for capital credit means I must add. If I'm going to put an amount on the debit side of the credit of capital, then it means I need to subtract. Okay, so again, very important just to note those rules on the answer book, not question paper, more importantly, on your answer book so that you don't forget to actually use them. Okay, I'm all good there, Ina, all for now. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Salama. Okay, students, before we wrap up, then just the last few reminders. Yes, you can do past papers. They're available for you on the Emirates landing page, library past papers. But as we've cautioned you a few times, please don't try and make the leap from the classroom to the past papers, because then you're going to have a big gap in your knowledge over here, which is then not going to be good for you when you get to the assessment. So please first make sure you have gone through all your textbook examples and questions, and then only start with past paper questions so that you not have this gap in your knowledge. And then, as we said, just like getting your South African driver's license, where you had to practice until you were able to go and take your driver's test, so too, if you want to pass Accounting 1A, you need to be practicing. You need to know your theory, you need to be in class, but in your own time, you need to be making sure you are practicing and doing enough questions. Remember your exam tips when you're actually there in the exam room. Tip number 1, please show us all your workings. Tip number 2, make sure that you are managing your time. So please don't spend more time more than 1.2 minutes per mark, because then that will mean you have to rush at the end of the paper. And then make sure that you are reading your required and all the other information that we give you with great care so that you don't miss out on anything. Salama, just for the end, she's shared a couple more top tips with you. Salama, do you want to talk to this last slide before we wrap up for the afternoon?
Yes, Ina, thank you. Again, very important to just recap on some top tips that I'm sharing here. Study the theory, very, very important, and connect the story. Okay, as you go along, very important daily practice, and I'm sure many of you have been doing that. Teach a friend, your peers. Also very important there for you to get a better understanding. And very important now is to arrive early at your test venue. I'm sure you are aware, according to your pass, that you will be writing on Thursday, but earlier now. So you have to try to be on the campus at least in half an hour before the time. Please do remain calm during the test. Don't overthink. Okay, always just go with your first option and just believe in yourself. Okay, myself and Ina, we know that you are going to be giving us your best. So please don't give up. The more confident you are, you will definitely see that you are going to be achieving in your assessments, and we are going to see those excellent results. And just all the best, everyone. Do your best on this test, and good luck. Thank you, Ina.
And thanks, Alama. Here's the last few reminders. So stick to your allocated time. You've got 60 minutes to earn that 50 marks. Make sure you're reading your required. Show us the working. And please, students, remember that in an assessment, a formal assessment, you can only write in pen. So please make sure that you are using only a pen in your answer booklets. Okay, from my side, thank you very much for your time and for attending our session. And also thank you very, very much to Salama, as always, for all her help. Can everyone quickly send lots and lots of love to Salama for all the work that she has been doing in assisting us this morning. Okay, and you can also send love to your fellow students and wish everyone well. So thank you very much, everyone. And then the recordings will be up later today on, it will be up on YouTube.